Let's discuss investment advisor brochure delivery rules. First of all, what is the brochure? The brochure is defined as ADV Part 2A and 2B. Essentially, 2A is the brochure, which is info on the company. 2B is brochure supplement, which is the info on the investment advisor representatives that will be potentially servicing the account. It's going to give information on them, how long they've been in the business, their outside business activities, even their education. Even though education is not a prerequisite not to enter the business, it's still going to give information on that, right? So when you're a federally covered advisor, the rules are pretty simple. As long as you give the brochure to the client, at or before time of contract signing, that's okay. No problems there. No problems there. On the state level, that's where it gets interesting. So you can either A, give the brochure 48 hours in advance of contract signing. So for example, if the contract was signed on Friday, if it was given on Wednesday, contract is binding, right? So meaning that that if there was a charge for early termination, that could be applied, right? The contract is binding. Now, if the brochure is given at the time of contract signing, there is a 5 business day right of rescission, which means that the client has the right to opt out for the next 5 business days. And what does that mean? I mean, that means they can't abuse it and get free services, but if there is a lockup period and a fee to get out, that fee could not be applied because they have a 5-day right to change their mind. The thought process behind that being that, hey, when they're signing the contract, the brochure is given then, do they really have a time to look at it when they're kind of when there's a sales pitch happening and there might be, be kind of distracted and not really focused? That's why it's there, right? That's why it's there. Now, there's 2 situations where you don't have to give a brochure. Number 1, if it's given to an investment company. Because investment companies, they can take care of themselves. And obviously, they know who they're dealing with if you're the advisor advising the investment company. Second situation, and investment companies, there's a lot of ways they can call that. I'm going to run through them real fast. So that's going to be like a, registered investment company, a face amount certificate, unit investment trust, management company, open-end, closed-end, mutual fund, business development company, interval fund, exchange-traded fund, ETF, right? So all those would be investment companies. Second situation where there's no brochure delivery required is if you're giving impersonal advice less than 500 a year. Less than 500 a year. This really applies to like newsletters, financial newsletters, stuff like that. So if in that situation there's no brochure delivery required, if it's impersonal advice, that's below 500 a year, right? Now, when it comes to updating the brochure, so if there is a material change, it needs to be filed with the administrator promptly, right? Immediately, essentially within the next month. If it's not a material change, right, then it's done within 90 days of the end of the fiscal advisor's year, and that's federal and state, right? And then it's delivered to the client within, or a summary of it, or the updated within 120 days of the end of the fiscal year. And then if there's no changes at all, technically, then nothing has to be delivered to the administrator or the client. So, hope that makes sense. Please listen, like, and subscribe. Thank you, and have a great day.